Hey warriors, there's a strange kind of magic that happens when you finally let go. Not the kind of magic you read about in fairy tales, but the real kind. The kind that changes everything without changing anything at all. It's the moment when your shoulders drop, your breath deepens, and somewhere deep inside, you whisper to the universe, "I trust you." You've been carrying it all, haven't you? The weight of tomorrow's problems, the burden of what might go wrong, the endless loop of what if, playing like a broken record in your mind. And here's the truth nobody tells you. Worry doesn't empty tomorrow of its troubles. It empties today of its peace. Think about water for a moment. When you clench your fist around it, it slips through your fingers. But when you hold your hand open gently, it rests in your palm. Life works the same way. The tighter you grip, the more control you try to force, the more everything seems to fall apart. But when you soften, when you stop wrestling with every outcome, something miraculous unfolds. Things start working out. Not because you stopped caring, not because you gave up, but because you made space. Space for solutions you couldn't see through the fog of anxiety. Space for opportunities that were always there, waiting for you to notice. Space for life to surprise you in ways your worried mind could never imagine. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." He knew what we're all learning, that peace isn't found in controlling everything. It's found in releasing what was never ours to control. Today, we're going to walk through something together. 9 truths that will shift how you see worry, how you hold your life, and how you move forward. These aren't just ideas, they're doorways. And on the other side of each one is a version of you that sleeps better at night, smiles more during the day, and watches in quiet amazement as things begin to align. If this message is already touching something in your soul, hit that like button. Type in the comments, "I trust the process." Share this with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe to this channel, and whatever you do, don't skip any part of this video. Are you ready? Take a deep breath. Let it out slowly. Let's begin. Number 1. Your mind is not a fortune teller. Here's what your anxious mind wants you to believe. It can predict the future. It whispers disaster scenarios like they're facts. It shows you vivid images of failure, rejection, and loss, and convinces you that seeing it means it's coming. But here's the reality. Your mind is terrible at predicting the future. Absolutely terrible. Think back to a year ago. Remember what you were worried about. Now look at where you are today. How many of those fears actually happened? And of the ones that did, how many unfolded exactly as you imagined? The truth is, most of what we worry about never comes to pass. And the things that do happen, they rarely look like what we feared. Research shows that 85% of what we worry about never actually occurs. And for the 15% that does happen, 79% of people report handling it better than they expected. Let that sink in. You're spending your precious energy on stories that probably won't come true, and even if they do, you're stronger than you think. Your mind isn't trying to hurt you, it's trying to protect you. That's its job. It's running ancient software designed for a world where predicting danger meant survival. But you're not being chased by predators anymore. You're being chased by thoughts. And thoughts aren't facts. Epictetus taught, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." He understood that the prison isn't what's happening around us, it's what's happening within us. So what happens when you stop treating your worried thoughts as prophecies? Everything shifts. You start seeing them for what they are, suggestions, not commands, possibilities, not certainties. Your mind still offers up anxious scenarios, but you don't have to RSVP to every invitation to panic. You can acknowledge the thought and let it pass. Thank you, mind, for trying to protect me, but I'm okay right now. Present moment, present breath, present peace. When you stop treating worry as preparation, you discover something beautiful. You don't need to rehearse disaster to handle life. You've already survived 100% of your worst days. You're here, you're breathing, you're capable. Watch what happens when you stop fortune-telling. You stop living in timelines that don't exist. You stop arguing with versions of the future that your mind made up. And in that space, in that beautiful, clear space, life starts working out. Not because you controlled it, but because you stopped getting in your own way. Comment below if you're ready to let go. I am at peace. Number 2, the universe rewards open hands. There's a powerful paradox woven into the fabric of life. The moment you stop strangling your dreams with desperation, they start breathing again. Think about a time when you wanted something so badly it hurt. Maybe it was a relationship, a job, an opportunity. You obsessed over it. You checked your phone constantly. You rehearsed conversations in your head. You gripped it so tightly that your knuckles turned white. And what happened? It either slipped away, or when you finally got it, it didn't feel the way you imagined. Now think about something good that came into your life unexpectedly, something you weren't desperately chasing. Maybe you met someone special when you stopped looking. Maybe an opportunity appeared when you were focused on something else. Maybe a solution arrived the moment you stopped forcing it. This isn't coincidence. This is how life works. When you're locked in worry, you're sending out a frequency of lack. You're telling the universe, I don't trust you. I don't believe good things can come to me unless I control every detail. And the universe, in its infinite wisdom, reflects that energy right back to you. But when you release that grip, when you say, I'll do my part, but I won't strangle the outcome, everything changes. You become magnetic instead of desperate, attractive instead of needy, open instead of closed. The Stoics called this amor fati, the love of fate. It's not passive acceptance, it's active trust. It's saying, I will work with what comes, not against it. I will dance with life, not wrestle it to the ground. Seneca wrote, fate leads the willing and drags the unwilling. You can walk into your future with open hands and an open heart, or you can be dragged there, fighting every step. Either way, you're going. But one path is graceful, and the other is exhausting. Here's what happens practically when you stop gripping so hard. Your nervous system calms down. When you're not in constant fight or flight mode, you make better decisions. You see opportunities you were blind to before. You connect with people more authentically because you're not performing or manipulating. You're just being. You also create space for creativity and intuition. Worry occupies massive bandwidth in your brain. When you release it, suddenly you have access to wisdom you didn't know you had. Solutions appear, ideas flow, the right words come at the right time. And here's the most beautiful part. When you hold things lightly, you actually enjoy them more. You're not constantly afraid of losing them. You're present with them. A relationship becomes richer when you're not suffocating it with insecurity. A goal becomes more fulfilling when you're not white-knuckling your way there. This doesn't mean you stop caring or trying. It means you care without clinging. You try without forcing. You plant seeds and water them, but you don't dig them up every day to check if they're growing. Watch what happens in your life when you start practicing open hands. Say it out loud right now. I release my tight grip. I trust what's meant for me will find me. Feel how your body softens when you say those words. That's not weakness, that's wisdom. Let me know you're with me by commenting, I surrender control. Number 3. Problems solve themselves when you stop feeding them. Here's something nobody talks about. Most problems have an expiration date. They're temporary by nature, but we make them permanent by giving them all our attention, all our energy, all our emotional real estate. You've experienced this. Remember a problem that felt absolutely crushing a few months ago? Where is it now? Gone, solved, irrelevant, or maybe still there, but somehow you've adapted and it doesn't have the same power over you. Time does something to problems, but more importantly, not obsessing over them does something even more powerful. When you worry constantly about a problem, you're essentially watering a weed. You're giving it nutrients. You're helping it grow. Your attention is energy, and wherever you direct that energy, you get more of it. More anxiety, more scenarios, more reasons to worry. But here's the beautiful truth. When you stop feeding a problem with your anxious attention, one of three things happens. First, it actually resolves itself. You'd be amazed how many situations work themselves out when you're not in there meddling, overthinking, and making things worse with your interference. Second, a solution appears that you couldn't see before. It was always there, but your worried mind was too noisy to notice it. It's like trying to hear someone whisper while you're standing next to a jet engine. When you quiet the worry, you can finally hear the wisdom. Third, you realize it wasn't actually a problem. It was just a situation. A neutral circumstance that your mind labeled as catastrophic. When you stop treating every challenge like an emergency, you discover that most things are just life, just weather passing through. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it, and this you have the power to revoke at any moment." Read that again. The problem isn't usually the problem. Your relationship with the problem is the problem. So, what does it look like practically to stop feeding your problems? It means you acknowledge them without dramatizing them. Okay, this is happening. What's the next right step? That's it. No catastrophizing, no mental time travel to worst-case scenarios. Just, what's the next right step? It means you create boundaries around problem thinking. You give yourself designated times to address challenges, and the rest of the time, you live your life. You don't carry every problem into every moment of your day. It means you stop talking about the problem constantly. Every time you rehash it with someone, you're reliving it. You're reinforcing the neural pathways of anxiety. Sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do is stop discussing what's wrong and start experiencing what's right. When you stop feeding your problems, you starve them of the power they had over you. And in that starvation, you discover something incredible. You're more resourceful than you knew. Life is more supportive than you believed. And most of what you worried about was smoke, not fire. Try this today. Pick one problem you've been obsessing over. Just for today, don't think about it unless you're actively taking a step to address it. Notice what happens. Notice the space that opens up. Notice the energy that returns to you. Share your commitment in the comments. I release worry. Number 4. Your body knows before your mind does. There's an intelligence in your body that your worried mind constantly overrides. And when you start listening to it, everything changes. Your body is always talking to you. It's sending signals, giving you information, guiding you toward what's right and away from what's not. But worry is so loud that it drowns out this ancient wisdom. Think about it. When you're about to make a decision that's wrong for you, what happens? Your stomach tightens, your chest feels heavy, your breathing becomes shallow. That's not anxiety lying to you. That's your body telling you the truth. And when something is right, even if it's scary, there's a different quality to the sensation. There's nervousness, yes, but underneath it is a sense of expansion, of rightness, of, yes, this is my path, even though it's uncomfortable. But we've been taught to ignore these signals. We've been taught that logic should override feeling, that thinking harder will solve everything. So we worry and analyze and overthink, trying to figure everything out from the neck up, while our body is screaming the answer we refuse to hear. Here's what happens when you stop worrying and start listening to your body. You make better decisions. Not just good decisions, better decisions. Because your body holds information your conscious mind doesn't have access to. It remembers every experience you've ever had. It recognizes patterns before your thinking mind can articulate them. The Stoics understood this connection between body and mind. They didn't see them as separate. Epictetus taught his students to pay attention to their physical responses, to notice tension and release, to use the body as a guide for living well. When you're stuck in worry, your body is stuck in stress response. Your nervous system is firing like you're being chased. Cortisol floods your system. Your digestion shuts down. Your immune system weakens. Your body is preparing for immediate danger, but the danger is imaginary. And here's the cruel irony. This physical state of stress actually makes you worse at problem solving. The worried, stress-flooded brain is less creative, less flexible, less able to see solutions. So, you worry about problems, which puts your body in a state that makes you less equipped to solve those problems. It's a vicious cycle. But when you stop worrying, when you consciously release that tension, your body shifts into a different state, a state where healing happens, where intuition flows, where clarity emerges. Try this right now. Notice where you're holding tension. Is it your jaw, your shoulders, your stomach? Just notice it. Don't judge it. And then, with intention, soften that area. Take a deep breath and let it go. Feel that small release. That's your body saying thank you. That's your nervous system starting to trust that you're safe. And from that place of safety, of softness, of trust, that's where your best life unfolds. Start checking in with your body throughout the day, not to judge it or fix it, but to listen to it. What are you trying to tell me? What do you need? Sometimes the answer is rest. Sometimes it's movement. Sometimes it's just acknowledgement. Your body is not your enemy. It's not betraying you with anxiety. It's trying to help you. And when you stop worrying long enough to actually hear what it's saying, you discover a guide you've had all along. Watch how things start working out when you honor your body's wisdom, when you rest when you need rest, when you move when you need movement, when you say no to things that make your whole system contract, and yes to things that make you feel expansive. This isn't indulgence, this is intelligence. This is listening to the smartest part of you. Type this below if it speaks to you. I trust myself. Number 5. Worry is a habit, and habits can change. Here's something that might surprise you. You're not a naturally worried person. You're a person who has practiced worry so much that it became automatic. There's a difference. And that difference changes everything. You weren't born worrying about tomorrow. Watch a small child. They're fully in the moment, completely absorbed in what's right in front of them. Worry is learned. It's practiced. And here's the empowering truth. Anything that's practiced can be unpracticed. Think about the neural pathways in your brain, like trails through a forest. The first time you worry about something, you're making a small path through the brush. It's effortful. But the more you walk that path, the more you rehearse that worry, the wider and clearer that trail becomes. Eventually, it becomes a highway. Your brain defaults to it automatically. That's why worry feels so natural. That's why the moment something uncertain appears, your mind immediately goes there. Not because you're broken, not because something's wrong with you, but because you've practiced that route thousands of times. But here's the beautiful part. You can create new trails. You can practice different responses. And the more you walk the new path, the fainter the old one becomes. Neuroscience backs this up completely. Your brain has something called neuroplasticity, the ability to reorganize itself, to form new connections, to literally rewire. The brain you have today isn't the brain you're stuck with forever. Every thought you think, every pattern you practice is sculpting your brain in real time. So, when you catch yourself starting to worry and you consciously choose a different response, you're not just changing that moment. You're rewiring your default setting for the future. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." He knew that thoughts aren't just things that happen to us. They're things we can cultivate. Here's how this works practically. Let's say you wake up and immediately start worrying about your day. That's the old trail, the automatic highway. But instead of following it, you pause. You notice, oh, there's the worry again. You're not judging it. You're just noticing it. And then you consciously choose a different thought. Not a fake positive thought that you don't believe, but a true thought that serves you better. Maybe, "I've handled every day that's come before this one." Or, "I'll deal with things as they arise." Or simply, "Right now, in this moment, I'm okay." The first 100 times you do this, it feels forced. The old trail is so much easier. But keep going. Keep choosing the new response. Keep walking the new path. And then one day, something shifts. You wake up and the worry doesn't automatically appear. Or it does, but it's quieter, easier to release. The new trail has become stronger than the old one. This isn't about toxic positivity. This isn't about pretending problems don't exist. This is about retraining your default response from catastrophize first, think later, to stay calm, address what's real, let go of what's imaginary. You can literally practice peace the same way you've practiced worry. When things are going well, instead of waiting for the other shoe to drop, you can practice gratitude. When you're uncertain, instead of spinning worst-case scenarios, you can practice trust. Every single time you choose differently, you're changing your brain. You're weakening the worry habit and strengthening the peace habit. Watch what happens when you realize worry isn't who you are. It's just what you've been practicing. Suddenly, you have power. You're not a victim of your anxious mind. You're a person learning a new skill. And like any skill, it gets easier with practice. The peace you're seeking isn't something you find out there. It's something you practice right here, right now, one conscious choice at a time. Show me you're choosing differently. Comment, "I choose peace." Number 6. What you focus on expands. There's a law operating in your life right now, whether you're aware of it or not. It's simple, it's powerful, and it's completely impartial. What you focus on expands. Not sometimes, not maybe, always. When you focus on what's going wrong, you find more evidence of what's going wrong. When you focus on what you lack, you feel more lacking. When you focus on your fears, those fears become bigger, louder, more convincing. But the reverse is also true. When you focus on what's working, you notice more of what's working. When you focus on possibility, possibilities appear. When you focus on gratitude, you find more to be grateful for. Your brain has something called the reticular activating system, a filter that determines what information gets through to your conscious awareness. There's too much happening around you at any moment for you to process it all, so your brain filters. And what does it filter for? Whatever you've told it is important. Here's a simple example. You decide you want a red car. Suddenly, you see red cars everywhere. They were always there, but now your brain is filtering for them. You've told your brain, "This matters, show me this." Worry works the same way. When you're constantly focused on what could go wrong, your brain starts filtering your entire reality through that lens. It shows you evidence of danger. It highlights problems. It misses opportunities because it's not looking for them. You're essentially programming your brain to hunt for reasons to be anxious. And your brain, being the incredibly efficient tool it is, delivers exactly what you asked for. But when you stop worrying and start intentionally directing your focus, everything shifts. You're not ignoring reality. You're choosing which part of reality to amplify. Because here's the truth. At any given moment, multiple realities exist simultaneously. Things are going wrong and things are going right. There are problems and there are blessings. There is uncertainty and there is stability. The question isn't which reality is true. They're both true. The question is, which reality are you going to focus on? Which one are you going to expand? Seneca wrote, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." He saw that humans have this unique ability to multiply their suffering by focusing on it, replaying it, projecting it into the future. But we also have the unique ability to multiply our peace, our joy, our sense of possibility by focusing there instead. This isn't about pretending problems don't exist. If your house is on fire, you don't stand there thinking positive thoughts. You put out the fire. But most of what we worry about isn't an actual fire. It's smoke, it's shadows, it's imagination. And even when there are real challenges, you still get to choose. Do I focus on the challenge itself, or do I focus on my capacity to handle it? Do I focus on what's falling apart, or do I focus on what I'm building? Do I focus on what I've lost, or what I still have? Here's what happens practically when you shift your focus from worry to what's working. Opportunities appear. People show up to help. Resources you didn't notice before become visible. Synchronicities happen, not because you manifested them with magical thinking, but because you stopped being so consumed by anxiety that you couldn't see what was right in front of you. Start this practice today. Every time you catch yourself spiraling into worry, pause and ask, what else is true right now? What's working? What's good? What's possible? Make it a game. Challenge your brain to find evidence of good. At the end of each day, write down 3 things that went right. They don't have to be big. Maybe you had a good conversation. Maybe you ate a delicious meal. Maybe the sun felt warm on your face. Train your brain to hunt for the good. Watch what happens over time. The good doesn't just seem more frequent. It actually becomes more frequent because you're moving through your life with open eyes instead of anxious tunnel vision. You're responding to opportunities instead of being frozen in fear. What you focus on expands. So, focus on what you want to expand in your life. Focus on peace. Focus on possibility. Focus on your strength, your resilience, your capacity to handle whatever comes. And watch as your entire experience of life transforms, not because life changed, but because you changed what you're looking at. If you feel this shift happening, write, I see abundance. Number 7, the present moment is always okay. Here's a question that will change your life. Right now, in this exact moment, are you okay? Not tomorrow, not if something bad happens, not if your fears come true. Right now, this breath, this moment, are you okay? The answer is almost always yes. All your worry lives in the future, every bit of it. You're not worried about right now. You're worried about what might happen, what could go wrong, what you might lose. But none of that is happening right now. Right now you're breathing, you're alive, you're here. And in this moment, you're okay. This isn't denial. This isn't pretending challenges don't exist. This is the profound realization that worry doesn't live in reality. It lives in your projection of the future. And the future doesn't exist. It never has. It never will. All you ever have is this moment. And then the next one. And then the next one. A long string of present moments that you either meet with presence or miss because you're lost in your head. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Confine yourself to the present, not because the future doesn't matter, but because the future isn't here. And trying to live in a time that doesn't exist is the source of almost all suffering. When you bring yourself back to the present moment, something magical happens. The weight lifts, because in this moment, there's nothing to solve. There's just this breath, this sensation, this experience. You're not carrying the weight of everything that might happen. You're just here, now. And now is manageable. Now is almost always okay. Think about the times you've been most anxious. Were you anxious about something happening in that moment, or about something that might happen later? Almost always it's the might happen later. You're at work, and you're anxious about a meeting tomorrow. You're lying in bed, and you're anxious about how something will turn out next week. You're having dinner with someone you love, but you're not really there because you're worried about something that hasn't happened yet. You're missing your life. You're missing the only time that actually exists. Here's what happens when you stop worrying and come back to the present. You discover peace was always available. It wasn't hiding in the future, waiting for everything to work out. It was here, now, in this moment you kept abandoning. You also discover that you're more capable than you thought, because when challenges actually arise, when they move from future worry to present reality, you handle them. You've handled every challenge that's ever actually shown up in your present moment. Your track record is 100%, but you've suffered through thousands of imaginary challenges that never actually arrived. Start practicing this return to the present. When you notice worry pulling you into the future, come back. Feel your feet on the ground. Notice your breath. Look around and name 5 things you can see. This isn't avoidance. This is reality. This moment is the only place where life actually happens. It's the only place where you have any power. You can't change the future by worrying about it, but you can rob yourself of the present by doing so. And here's the beautiful paradox. When you stop abandoning the present to worry about the future, your future actually gets better, because you're making better decisions from a place of calm. You're taking wiser actions from a place of clarity. You're creating from a place of peace, instead of reacting from a place of panic. The present moment is always okay. Not perfect, not without challenges, but okay. Manageable, bearable, and often, if you're really paying attention, beautiful. Come home to this moment. Come home to your breath. Come home to the only time that's real, and watch how everything starts working out when you stop abandoning the now for an imaginary then. Affirm your presence right now by typing, "I am here now." Number 8. You're stronger than your circumstances. There's something you need to know about yourself, something you might have forgotten in the fog of worry. You are not fragile. You've been through things, real things, hard things, things that, before they happened, you probably worried you couldn't handle. And yet, here you are. Still standing, still breathing, still moving forward. That's not luck, that's not chance, that's strength. But worry has a way of making you forget your own power. It convinces you that you're delicate, that life is too much, that the next challenge will be the one that finally breaks you. It paints you as a victim of your circumstances, rather than someone who moves through circumstances with courage and resilience. Here's the truth that worry doesn't want you to know. You have survived 100% of your worst days, every single one of them. The days you thought would destroy you didn't. The losses you thought you couldn't bear, you bore them. The challenges you thought were impossible, you found a way. You are made of sturdier stuff than your worried mind gives you credit for. Epictetus taught, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." He didn't say this from a place of privilege. He said it from a place of lived experience. He knew suffering, he knew hardship, and he discovered what humans throughout history have discovered. We are far more resilient than we imagine. When you stop worrying, you stop underestimating yourself. You stop treating yourself like you're made of glass. You start recognizing that you're actually made of something much stronger, something that bends but doesn't break, that weathers storms and grows roots deeper in the process. Think about the challenges you've already overcome. Really think about them. Maybe you've lost people you love. Maybe you've failed at things that mattered. Maybe you've had your heart broken, your plans disrupted, your hopes disappointed. And maybe, in the middle of those experiences, you didn't feel strong at all. You felt broken. But you weren't broken. You were breaking open. There's a difference. Breaking means you're destroyed. Breaking open means you're expanding. Your capacity is growing. Your compassion is deepening. Your understanding of what really matters is clarifying. Every single challenge you've faced has added to your strength, not subtracted from it. You know more now than you did before. You're wiser. You're more capable. You carry tools in your inner toolkit that you didn't have before those experiences. When you stop worrying about future challenges, you start trusting in your ability to meet them. Not because nothing hard will happen, but because you know, deeply know, that you can handle what comes. This doesn't mean you won't feel afraid. It doesn't mean you won't struggle. But there's a difference between feeling afraid while trusting yourself and feeling afraid while believing you're too weak to cope. One is courage, the other is worry. Here's what happens practically when you recognize your own strength. You make bolder choices. You take necessary risks. You speak up when you need to. You leave situations that aren't serving you. You try things that scare you, not because you're reckless, but because you trust that even if things don't work out, you'll be okay. You stop playing small to protect yourself from disappointment. You stop avoiding life to avoid pain. You step into the full expression of who you are because you're no longer afraid that life will break you. Start acknowledging your strength. When worry whispers, "You can't handle this," respond with evidence. "I've handled everything so far. I'll handle this too." Not as arrogance, but as truth. Write down 3 challenges you've already overcome. Look at that list. That's proof. You're not hypothetically strong. You're demonstrably strong. The evidence is your own life. You are not weaker than your circumstances. You never have been. You've just been so focused on what might go wrong that you forgot to notice how much you've already handled. Declare your strength in the comments. I am resilient. Number 9. Life is conspiring for you, not against you. Here's the shift that changes everything. What if nothing is going wrong? What if everything, every challenge, every delay, every disappointment is actually working in your favor? I know how that sounds, especially when you're in the middle of something hard, when life feels heavy, when nothing seems to be working out the way you planned. The idea that it's all somehow for you feels impossible, but stay with me. Think back to something that felt like a disaster when it happened. Maybe you didn't get a job you desperately wanted. Maybe a relationship ended. Maybe plans fell through. And at the time, it felt like the worst thing that could happen. Now look at where you are. Can you see, with the clarity of hindsight, how that disaster actually redirected you towards something better? How that closed door led you to a door you didn't even know existed? How that ending made space for a beginning you needed? This happens over and over in life. What feels like rejection is actually redirection. What feels like loss is actually making space. What feels like a setback is actually a setup for something you couldn't have imagined. But worry blinds you to this possibility. Worry treats every closed door as a tragedy, every delay as a punishment, every challenge as evidence that life is against you. What if it's not? What if life is actually an intelligent force that's moving you, sometimes gently and sometimes forcibly, toward your highest good? The Stoics called this logos, the rational principle that governs the universe. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Everything that happens, happens as it should. Not because everything is pleasant, but because everything has a place in the larger pattern." He trusted that even the difficulties he faced, and he faced immense difficulties, were part of something larger, something purposeful. When you stop worrying and start trusting, you begin to see evidence of this everywhere. The person who rejected you made space for someone who truly sees you. The job you didn't get led you to work that actually fulfills you. The delay that frustrated you kept you from being somewhere you didn't need to be. You start noticing synchronicities, things lining up in ways that seem too perfect to be random, people appearing right when you need them, solutions emerging from unexpected places. This isn't magical thinking. This is what becomes visible when you stop being so consumed by anxiety that you can't see the support that's always been there. Here's what happens practically when you shift from "life is against me" to "life is for me." You relax. You stop fighting every current. You stop treating every obstacle like an enemy. You start moving with life instead of against it. You also become more open to unexpected paths. When you're stuck in worry, you have one specific vision of how things should unfold, and anything that deviates from that vision feels like failure. But when you trust that life is for you, you can hold your plans loosely. You can say, "This is what I'm working toward, but I'm open to something even better that I can't see yet." This doesn't mean you become passive. It means you become fluid. You do your part, you show up, you try, you work, you act. But you don't strangle the outcome. You trust the process. Start practicing this perspective. When something doesn't go your way, instead of immediately spiraling into worry, pause and ask, "How might this be working for me? What if this is protection? What if this is redirection towards something better?" You don't have to believe it fully at first. Just try on the possibility. Create space for a different story than the one your worried mind is telling. And then watch. Watch your life with new eyes. Watch how things unfold. Watch how what seemed like chaos was actually choreography. Watch how the universe, in its infinite wisdom, was guiding you all along. You don't have to figure it all out. You don't have to control every outcome. You just have to trust that life isn't your enemy, it's your ally. And when you stop worrying and start trusting, you begin to work together with life instead of against it. That's when everything starts working out. Not because you forced it, but because you finally allowed it. Seal this truth by commenting below, "Life supports me." So here we are. 9 truths. 9 doorways into a different way of being. You came here carrying worry like a backpack full of stones. And maybe, right now, you feel just a little lighter. Maybe you're starting to see that the weight you've been carrying wasn't protecting you. It was exhausting you. Everything starts working out when you stop worrying. Not because your circumstances magically change, though sometimes they do, but because you change. You stop meeting life with clenched fists and a racing heart. You stop treating every moment as a threat. You stop living in timelines that don't exist. You come home, to this breath, to this moment, to the quiet knowing that you're okay. You've always been okay, and you're going to continue being okay. The Stoics knew this. Through war, plague, loss, betrayal, they kept returning to the same truth. Peace isn't found in controlling everything. It's found in releasing what was never yours to control. It's found in trusting yourself, trusting the process, trusting that life is unfolding exactly as it needs to. So, what now? You take these 9 truths and you practice them, not perfectly, not all at once, but consistently. Every time worry shows up, you have a choice. You can follow the old trail, the automatic highway of anxiety, or you can pause, breathe, and choose differently. You can remind yourself, my mind isn't a fortune teller. I can hold my dreams with open hands. I don't need to feed my problems. I can trust my body's wisdom. I'm practicing peace over worry. I can focus on what's working. This present moment is okay. I'm stronger than my circumstances. Life is for me, not against me. These aren't just nice ideas. They're practices. And every time you practice, you're rewiring your brain, reshaping your life, and stepping into a version of yourself that doesn't just survive, you thrive. Before you go, I need one more thing from you. If this message touched something in you, hit that like button. Share this video with someone who needs to hear it. Drop a comment below with the affirmation that resonated most with you. And subscribe to this channel because we're building something here, a community of people who choose peace over panic, trust over terror, presence over projection. You don't have to carry the weight anymore. You can set it down, right here, right now. Watch how everything starts working out when you finally give yourself permission to stop worrying and start living. Thank you for being here. Thank you for choosing yourself. Thank you for having the courage to change. Now go live your life, the one that's been waiting for you all along. Listen, I'm not here to pump you up with empty words that evaporate the second this video ends. I'm here because somewhere between who you are and who you know you could be, there's a graveyard of half-started dreams, and you've been attending the funeral every single day. The psychologist Carl Jung spent his life studying what he called the shadow self, the parts of us we refuse to acknowledge. But here's what Jung discovered that most people miss. It's not our darkness we're running from, it's our light. We're terrified of what we're capable of because capability comes with responsibility, and responsibility means we can't blame anyone else anymore. You know what nobody talks about? The relief of giving up. There's a strange comfort in surrender. When you stop trying, you stop failing. When you stop dreaming, you stop being disappointed. When you accept that this is just how things are, you finally get to rest. And that rest feels so good that you mistake it for peace. But it's not peace, it's resignation wearing peace's clothes. Think about this. You've spent more energy defending why you can't than it would have taken to discover if you could. You've invested more time explaining your limitations than exploring your capabilities. You've used more creativity building reasons to stay stuck than it would have required to get unstuck. The math doesn't lie. You're not lacking resources. You're lacking commitment. There's a concept in physics called inertia. An object at rest stays at rest unless acted upon by an outside force. But here's what's brutal about human inertia. The outside force that needs to move you. It's you. You're waiting for someone to push you, and you're the only one who can. You're both the immovable object and the unstoppable force, and you've been choosing immovable. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." He wasn't writing for an audience. He was reminding himself. Even emperors need to remember that the only thing standing between them and action is their own mind's permission. Right now, there are 7 specific ways you're lying to yourself about why your life hasn't changed. Not maybe, not possibly, definitely. These aren't theories. These are the exact patterns that keep people circling the same block for years, wondering why the scenery never changes. And I'm about to show you each one, not so you feel attacked, but so you finally see the cage you built and realize you're holding the key. Before we go further, hit that like button. Drop a comment with just 3 words. No more excuses. Share this with one person who's stuck in the same loop you are. Subscribe because we're building something here, a space where excuses come to die and lives come to start. Number 1. Potential without proof is just fantasy. The Dunning-Kruger effect shows us something fascinating. Incompetent people overestimate their abilities, while highly competent people underestimate theirs. But there's a third category nobody talks about. People who are obsessed with their potential but refuse to test it. They live in the beautiful space of "I could if I wanted to," never realizing that untested potential is just a sophisticated form of lying to yourself. You love talking about what you're going to do. You've got plans, ideas, visions. You can describe your future business in detail. You can explain exactly how you'll transform your body. You can outline the book you'll write, the career you'll build, the life you'll create. You're fluent in the language of someday. But here's your addiction. Potential feels better than proof. As long as it stays in your head, it stays perfect. The business can't fail if you never launch it. The book can't get rejected if you never write it. The dream can't disappoint you if you never chase it. You get to keep your identity as someone capable of great things without ever having to face whether that's actually true. This is why you research endlessly but never start. Why you plan meticulously but never execute. Why you wait for perfect clarity before taking imperfect action. You're not preparing, you're hiding. You're not being strategic, you're being scared. And you've dressed up your fear in the respectable clothes of being thorough. Meanwhile, someone else, someone with half your talent and twice your courage, just launched the imperfect version of what you've been perfecting in your mind. They're getting real feedback while you're getting imaginary praise. They're learning what actually works while you're theorizing about what might work. They're building proof while you're protecting potential. The gap between who you think you are and who you actually are gets wider every day you don't test yourself. That gap fills with fantasy, and fantasy is comfortable until you realize you've been living in a simulation of your own life instead of your actual life. You don't need another course. You don't need another book. You don't need more time to think about it. You need to do something, anything, that produces a result you can measure. Not a feeling, not a plan, a result. Because results are the only truth that matters. And right now, your results are screaming that your potential means nothing without proof. Start ugly, start small, start scared. But start with something that creates evidence of your existence beyond your own imagination. Stop being a museum of unrealized potential and become a laboratory of tested capability. Number 2, being busy doesn't mean moving forward. The British historian Cyril Northcote Parkinson discovered what's now called Parkinson's Law. Work expands to fill the time available for its completion. But there's a corollary nobody mentions. Busy work expands to fill the space where real work should be, and we let it, because busy feels productive, even when it produces nothing. You're moving. I see you. You're busy, active, always doing something. Your calendar is full. Your to-do list is long. You're in constant motion, and motion feels like progress. So you've convinced yourself you're making progress. But are you actually getting anywhere, or are you just traveling in increasingly complex circles? Check your last month. How much of your activity actually moved you toward what matters? How much was just organizational theater, rearranging your workspace, reorganizing your files, researching tools, comparing options, optimizing systems that don't exist yet. How much time did you spend getting ready to get ready? This is the sophisticated trap. You're not lazy. You're not unmotivated. You're actively engaged. But you're engaged in everything except the one thing that would actually change your situation. You're watering the leaves instead of the roots, polishing the car that never leaves the garage, sharpening tools you never use. The entrepreneur spends months designing the perfect logo, but never talks to a single customer. The aspiring writer spends weeks setting up their writing environment, but never writes a paragraph. The person wanting to get healthy researches every diet and workout plan, but never breaks a sweat. They're all moving, none of them are progressing. Here's how you know the difference. Progress is measurable and uncomfortable. Motion is visible and comfortable. Progress requires you to face your inadequacy. Motion lets you feel productive without being vulnerable. Progress puts you at risk of failure. Motion keeps you safe in the illusion of momentum. You attend workshops but don't implement. You consume content but don't create. You network but don't build. You learn but don't apply. You're choosing education over execution because being a student feels safer than being judged as a practitioner. The brutal question: if you removed all the activity that doesn't directly produce results, what would be left? How much of your work is actually work, and how much is elaborate avoidance dressed up as productivity? Because the hours you spend in motion without progress are hours you're stealing from your own future. Stop counting tasks completed and start counting outcomes created. Stop measuring how busy you are and start measuring how much closer you are to what actually matters. The scoreboard doesn't care how hard you worked. It only shows whether you scored. If you're ready to stop the busy work, comment, "Results matter." Number 3, your past self doesn't own your future. The human mind has what neuroscientists called an interpreter, a part of our brain that constantly creates narratives to explain our behavior, even when those narratives are complete fiction. We're not discovering who we are. We're constantly authoring who we are, and most of us keep writing the same chapter over and over. You walk around saying, "I'm just not a morning person," or "I'm not good with money," or "I'm not the type who exercises," like these are genetic facts written into your DNA. But they're not. They're sentences you said once that became comfortable, so you kept repeating them until they calcified into identity. Here's the thing about identity. It's the most sophisticated excuse you have, because it doesn't sound like an excuse. When you say, "I can't do that because it's not who I am," it sounds like self-awareness. It sounds like honesty. It sounds like you're just being realistic about your nature, but what you're actually doing is using your past behavior as a prison for your future possibility. Every addiction recovery program knows this secret. You can't change behavior until you change identity. An alcoholic who says, "I'm trying not to drink," still identifies as a drinker who's resisting. But someone who says, "I don't drink," has changed their identity, and behavior follows identity like a shadow follows light. You've been running the same personality software for so long, you think it's your operating system. But it's not. It's just a program you got used to running. "I'm shy" means, "I've been practicing shyness so long it feels natural." "I'm not disciplined" means, "I haven't built discipline because I keep choosing immediate comfort." "I'm bad at that" means, "I haven't invested the time to get good at that." The problem isn't your identity. The problem is, you think your identity is permanent. You've confused familiarity with fate. You've mistaken patterns for personality. And every day you introduce yourself using the same limiting labels. You're signing a contract with yourself to stay exactly who you've been. But here's what most people never realize. You can just stop. You can stop telling that story. You can stop reinforcing that identity. You can wake up tomorrow and decide that the person you were yesterday doesn't get a vote on who you are today. Not through affirmations or vision boards or positive thinking, but through different actions that create different evidence. Identity isn't what you believe about yourself. It's what you prove to yourself through behavior. You want to be disciplined? Stop saying you're going to be disciplined and just do one disciplined thing. Then another. Then another. Do it enough times and your brain stops seeing it as an exception and starts seeing it as evidence. Evidence becomes pattern. Pattern becomes identity. The story you're telling about yourself isn't protecting you. It's limiting you. Every time you use "I'm just," or "I've always been," or "I'm the type of person who," you're building walls disguised as descriptions. You're not being honest about who you are. You're being loyal to who you were. Stop introducing yourself using your limitations as credentials. Stop defending your weaknesses like they're features instead of bugs. Stop narrating your life using the same tired character description and start writing a different story through different choices. Type this affirmation below if you're ready to change. I rewrite myself daily. Number 4. Deciding once beats thinking forever. Researched extensively by psychologists shows that having too many options doesn't liberate us, it paralyzes us. But here's the deeper issue. We've turned even simple decisions into ongoing debates with ourselves, keeping every door open because closing a door feels like loss, not realizing that keeping everything open means going nowhere. Watch how you make decisions. You don't make them, you entertain them, you consider them, you weigh them, you revisit them. You keep them warm as possibilities while never committing to any of them as realities. You treat your life like a restaurant menu you're constantly reviewing but never ordering from. I'm thinking about starting that business. Translation: I'm keeping it as an option while doing nothing about it. I might go back to school. Translation: I like the idea of it more than the commitment to it. I should probably start working out. Translation: I've created the illusion of intention without the substance of decision. Real decisions don't sound like maybes. They don't live in the future tense. They don't come with escape clauses and contingencies. Real decisions sound like, I'm doing this, not I'm going to, not I want to, not I should, just I am. Present tense, declarative, done. You know why you can't commit? Because commitment means accountability. Once you declare something, you're responsible for whether it happens. But as long as you're considering it or planning it or working toward it, you can never fail because you never really tried. You've discovered the perfect protection from disappointment, perpetual deliberation. Here's what happens when you treat decisions like negotiations. Nothing. Time passes. Opportunities close. Other people who made actual decisions lap you while you're still weighing options. And then you look back and realize you didn't choose not to do it. You just never chose to do it, which produces the same result, but lets you avoid responsibility. Seneca wrote, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it." Every day you spend deliberating is a day you're not living. Every hour you spend weighing options is an hour you're not building anything. Every moment you spend keeping doors open is a moment you're not walking through any of them. The successful entrepreneur didn't have more certainty than you when they started. They just decided and dealt with consequences. The person in the relationship you admire didn't have guarantees. They just committed and built from there. The person who changed their life didn't have clarity on every step. They just made a declaration and figured it out as they went. Stop conducting feasibility studies on your own life. Stop running endless cost-benefit analyses on whether you should try. Stop treating every choice like it needs a committee vote. Make a decision, a real one. Then honor it with action instead of reconsidering it with doubt. Your indecision isn't careful planning, it's camouflaged cowardice. Your need to keep your options open isn't strategic flexibility, it's commitment phobia. Your habit of seeing how things go isn't patience, it's passivity dressed in wisdom's clothing. Decide, then move. Don't decide and wait. Don't decide and plan more. Don't decide and gather more information. Decide and act. Because a decision without action is just a wish with delusions of grandeur, and wishes don't change anything except how disappointed you feel when they don't come true. Number 5. Nobody's coming to save you. In research on learned helplessness, psychologists discovered that even when obstacles are removed, subjects who've been conditioned to believe they can't escape often won't even try. They've internalized their limitations so deeply that they need permission to be free, never realizing that permission is the cage itself. You're waiting for someone to tell you it's okay, for someone to validate your readiness, for someone to grant you access, for someone to say, yes, you can do this. You're standing at doors that aren't even locked, waiting for someone to hand you a key you don't need. Who are you waiting for? A boss to recognize your talent, a partner to support your dream, a parent to finally approve, a friend to validate your decision, society to give you clearance, the universe to send a sign. You've turned your life into an endless waiting room, sitting patiently for your name to be called by someone who isn't coming. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Nobody is coming to give you permission. Not because they don't care, but because they're not responsible for your life. Not because they don't believe in you, but because their belief isn't required for your action. Not because they want to hold you back, but because moving forward was never their job. It's yours. You learned this permission-seeking behavior young. You raised your hand in school and waited to be called on. You asked if you could use the bathroom. You needed signatures and approvals and authorization. And somewhere along the way, you internalized the idea that everything requires permission from someone else before you can proceed. But you're not in school anymore. There's no teacher. There's no principal. There's no authority figure whose approval you need to chase your dreams, start your business, change your career, end that relationship, move to that city, write that book, create that art, live that life. The person who started the company you admire didn't wait for permission, they just started. The artist whose work moves you didn't wait for validation, they just created. The leader who inspired change didn't wait for authority, they just led. They understood something you're still learning. Permission is a cage we lock ourselves in while holding the key. You want to know what's wild? The people you're waiting to give you permission. They're waiting too. They're waiting for someone to validate them. They're waiting for clearance they don't need. They're trapped in the same cycle, which means you're waiting for permission from people who haven't given themselves permission either. Epictetus understood this better than anyone. No man is free who is not master of himself. You're enslaved to other people's opinions. You're chained to their validation. You're imprisoned by their approval. And the cruelest part? They didn't put you there, you did. Stop asking if you can and start declaring that you will. Stop seeking validation and start creating value. Stop waiting for someone to choose you and start choosing yourself. Stop looking for green lights and become your own green light. The permission you're seeking doesn't exist outside you. It only exists inside you, and the moment you give it to yourself, you'll realize you've had it all along. You just needed to stop asking and start acting. If you believe it, declare it in the comments. I am enough. Number 6. Knowing without doing is worthless. The philosopher Søren Kierkegaard wrote something that cuts through every self-help book ever written. There are two ways to be fooled. One is to believe what isn't true. The other is to refuse to believe what is true. But there's a third way he didn't mention: to understand the truth completely and do absolutely nothing about it. You know what you need to do. Don't pretend you don't. You've read the books, you've watched the videos, you've listened to the podcasts, you've attended the seminars, you've consumed enough information to transform 10 lives, yet your one life remains exactly the same. You're not ignorant, you're informed and inactive, which is actually worse. Information has become your drug of choice. It gives you the hit of feeling productive without the discomfort of actually producing anything. You finish a book about building wealth and feel wealthy for a moment. You complete a course on fitness and feel fit temporarily. You watch a video about discipline and feel disciplined briefly. Then the feeling fades, and instead of acting, you consume more information to get another hit. This is the trap of intellectual understanding without embodied action. You think knowing equals doing. You believe awareness creates change. You assume that once you understand something deeply enough, transformation will happen automatically. But your life isn't a math problem that solves itself once you understand the equation. It's a canvas that stays blank until you pick up the brush. Here's what separates people who transform from people who just know about transformation: implementation. Not perfect implementation, not flawless execution, just messy, imperfect, stumbling forward action based on what they know. They don't wait until they understand everything. They act on what they understand right now and learn the rest by doing. You've turned learning into a hiding place. As long as you're still learning, you don't have to perform. As long as you're still preparing, you don't have to produce. As long as you're still researching, you don't have to risk. But this game has a shelf life, and that expiration date is approaching faster than you think. The irony is brutal. The information you needed to change your life, you had it years ago. Everything since then has been intellectual stalling. You don't need more knowledge. You need the courage to apply the knowledge you already have. You don't need more strategies. You need to execute the basic strategies you've been avoiding. You don't need more understanding. You need more action. Stop going back to the bookstore when you haven't implemented what's already on your shelf. Stop enrolling in new courses when you haven't completed the last 3. Stop searching for better information when you haven't used the good information you already have. You're not lacking wisdom, you're lacking willingness. The gap between what you know and what you do is where your life is disappearing. Every day that gap exists, you're proving that information without implementation is just entertainment. You're collecting knowledge like trophies while your life remains a museum of potential instead of a gallery of results. Take one thing you learned this year, just one principle, one strategy, one insight, and actually live it for 30 days. Not learn more about it, not refine your understanding of it. Live it, breathe it, make it real through action, because understanding that never becomes behavior is just sophisticated ignorance wearing a graduate degree. Number 7. Comfort is killing your spirit. The existential psychologist Rollo May spent his career studying what he called the anxiety of non-being, the feeling that you're not actually living, just existing. His conclusion was devastating. We don't fear death as much as we fear living without meaning. Yet we spend most of our lives choosing comfort over meaning, then suffering from the emptiness that choice creates. Look at your life. Really look at it. How many of your daily decisions are designed to avoid discomfort? You don't have the difficult conversation because it might be awkward. You don't pursue the opportunity because it might be uncertain. You don't end the wrong relationship because loneliness might be painful. You don't start the new venture because failure might be embarrassing. Your entire life has become an elaborate architecture built around one principle: avoid discomfort at all costs. And it's working. You're comfortable. You wake up in a comfortable bed. You go to a comfortable job. You maintain comfortable relationships. You engage in comfortable hobbies. You hold comfortable opinions. You make comfortable choices. Everything is comfortable. So why do you feel like you're suffocating? Because humans aren't designed for comfort. We're designed for challenge, for growth, for struggle that leads somewhere, for discomfort that builds something. When you remove all friction from your life, you don't create peace, you create numbness. You don't find happiness, you find hollowness. You don't achieve satisfaction, you achieve sterility. The feeling you can't name, that quiet desperation, that vague dissatisfaction, that sense that something's missing, that's not depression. That's your soul screaming that you're wasting your life playing it safe. That's your potential suffocating under the weight of your comfort. That's your spirit dying from underuse. Every great feeling you've ever had come from discomfort. The pride of accomplishment, that came from struggling through something hard. The joy of connection, that came from being vulnerable enough to be seen. The satisfaction of growth, that came from pushing past what you thought you could handle. Comfort gives you nothing worth remembering. Discomfort gives you everything worth living for. You've become so skilled at avoiding pain that you've accidentally avoided life. You've optimized for ease and wondered why nothing feels meaningful. You've chosen safety and questioned why you feel so stuck. You've prioritized comfort and asked why you feel so dead. Here's what nobody tells you. The discomfort you're avoiding isn't your enemy. It's the admission price to everything you actually want. Want a better body? It costs discomfort. Want a successful business? It costs discomfort. Want deep relationships? It costs discomfort. Want personal growth? It costs discomfort. Want to feel alive? It costs discomfort. There is no version of a meaningful life that doesn't require you to regularly do things that feel uncomfortable. You can't negotiate with this. You can't hack your way around it. You can't find the comfortable path to an uncomfortable destination. The bridge between who you are and who you want to be is built entirely out of things you don't want to do. And the longer you avoid walking across it, the longer you stay trapped on the wrong side. Stop trying to eliminate discomfort from your life. Start strategically choosing which discomfort you're willing to embrace. Stop asking, "How can I avoid this?" Start asking, "What would this make possible?" Stop running from the hard thing. Start running toward it, understanding that the hard thing is the only thing that will make you feel human again. Your comfort zone isn't a sanctuary, it's a slow-motion suicide. And every day you choose it over growth, you're choosing numbness over aliveness, safety over significance, existence over living. The question isn't whether you'll experience discomfort. The question is whether you'll experience the productive discomfort that builds something or the silent discomfort of a life unlived. Let everyone see your commitment. Type below, "I choose growth." So, here's where we are. You've just heard 7 mirrors reflecting exactly how you've been lying to yourself. Not theories, not possibilities, the actual mechanisms keeping you trapped while you convinced yourself you were waiting for the right time. You've been fooling yourself into thinking tomorrow will be different while doing exactly what made today the same as yesterday. But this stops now, not eventually, now. You don't need more motivation. You need different action. You don't need more information. You need implementation. You don't need more time. You need more honesty about how you're using the time you have. You don't need better circumstances. You need better choices within your current circumstances. Everything changes the moment you stop waiting for everything to change and start changing anything. One decision, one action, one uncomfortable step forward. That's all it takes to break the pattern you've been stuck in. Not someday, today. Before you close this video, do 3 things that prove you're different now. First, hit that like button as evidence you're done negotiating with mediocrity. Second, comment below with the specific action you're taking today, not what you're thinking about or planning to do, but what you're actually doing today. Third, share this with someone who needs to stop lying to themselves, and subscribe to this channel, because we're building a community of people who are done with excuses and ready for results. Your life is happening right now, not tomorrow, not someday, right now. And every second you spend defending why you haven't started is a second. You're choosing comfort over change. Stop defending, start doing. Make it official. Drop this in the comments. I start now. Hey, rising soul. Some people move through life like closed books. Their voice says one thing, their eyes say another, and their actions tell a story you were never meant to read. You try to understand them, try to sense their intentions, but their truth feels locked behind quiet walls. Yet the mind is never truly silent. It reveals itself in small cracks. The way someone reacts under pressure, the values that slip out during simple conversations, the fears hidden behind confident words, the dreams buried under hesitation. You don't need force to understand someone. You simply need the right doorway. Stoicism teaches that human nature is not a puzzle. It is a pattern a person repeats who they are, even when they don't notice it. Marcus Aurelius wrote that the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts, meaning watch the thoughts, and you understand the person. The right question invites those thoughts to rise to the surface, not to expose someone, but to understand them, not to control them, but to move wisely around them. When a question is crafted with clarity and intention, people don't guard themselves. They answer from instinct, from habit, from the place where their real beliefs live, and in that moment, a quiet truth appears, not dramatic, not loud, but unmistakably honest. Some minds reveal caution, some reveal hunger, some reveal tenderness, some reveal storms, and some minds reveal the kind of peace that changes the way you breathe when you're around them. Reading someone's mind is not about decoding secrets. It's about noticing where their attention goes, where their values point, and what their heart protects, without ever needing to say the words out loud. One question can show you whether they run from accountability. Another can show whether they grow from adversity. Another can show whether they honor themselves enough to honor you. But you don't need dozens of questions. You don't need complicated psychology. You need 5 questions that open windows instead of walls. Questions that make a person reveal what they stand for, what they fear, what they hope for, and what they avoid. These questions don't demand truth. They invite it. And when people speak from that unguarded place, something remarkable happens. You stop trying to guess their intentions, and you start seeing them clearly. No masks, no performances, no confusion. Stoicism teaches that clarity is protection. When you understand someone's nature, you no longer attach yourself to illusions. You no longer fall for mixed signals. You no longer invest your heart into uncertainty. You begin to walk with steadiness, not because people are predictable, but because your understanding becomes stronger than your doubt. Some people are kind only when life is easy. Some hold their calm only until discomfort appears. Some speak of loyalty but never practice it. Some claim strength but crumble at the first challenge. Some talk about love but cannot sit with honesty. These 5 questions will show you which kind of person stands in front of you, not by force, not by pressure, simply by allowing them to show themselves. So as we begin, stay present, stay open, stay willing to listen between the lines, because once you learn how to ask with intention, you will never again wonder who someone truly is. You will see it unfold naturally, effortlessly, and unmistakably. Now, let's begin. Question 1. What do you feel you're running from? A person's truth is never hidden in what they show you. It's hidden in what they avoid, and there is no question more revealing than this one. When you ask, "What do you feel you're running from?" you're not accusing them. You're inviting them to speak from the deepest layer of their mind, the layer most people never touch. Everyone runs from something. Some run from old wounds, some run from responsibility, some run from their own potential because success scares them more than failure, and some run from the truth of who they are when nobody is watching. This question opens a doorway into a person's inner patterns. It tells you what they fear, what haunts them, and what they haven't healed. Stoics believed that a person's freedom begins when they stop fleeing from their inner storms. Epictetus said, "No person is free who is not master of themselves." When someone answers this question honestly, you will understand exactly how much mastery they hold, or how much they still avoid. Listen closely to how they respond. If they answer with clarity, they have self-awareness. If they hesitate, there's something they haven't faced. If they joke to escape the depth, they fear vulnerability. If they get defensive, they are still protecting old pain. This question is powerful because it reveals how people deal with struggle. Not the struggle they show, but the struggle they hide. Some will tell you they're running from disappointment, which means they've been let down many times. Some will say they're running from people, which means trust has been broken in their story. Some will admit they're running from their own mind, which means they battle thoughts they do not yet understand. And some will say they're not running from anything, which often means they're running the fastest. When someone shares the truth about what they're running from, you begin to understand their emotional world. Are they escaping accountability? Are they escaping effort? Are they escaping healing? Or are they escaping the version of themselves they want to outgrow but don't know how? A person's answer shows you whether they face life or hide from it. It shows you whether they deal with challenges with strength or avoidance. It shows you whether they're moving toward growth or circling the same emotional patterns over and over. This is important because relationships, friendships, partnerships, family, are all shaped by how people face themselves. Someone who runs from their emotions will distance themselves without explanation. Someone who runs from responsibility will break promises. Someone who runs from healing will repeat the same harm. Someone who runs from conflict will leave you confused and unsupported. Someone who runs from truth will never build something real with you, but someone who confronts what they fear becomes steady, grounded, reliable, capable of love that is patient and understanding, capable of honesty that doesn't collapse when things get hard, and you deserve to know which type of person stands in front of you. When you ask this question, you're not trying to expose someone. You're trying to understand their landscape, the emotional terrain they come from, so you know how to walk with them, so you know whether to walk with them at all. The beauty of this question is that it brings clarity without confrontation. It brings honesty without force. It brings truth without pressure. Because a person can only answer from the level of awareness they currently have. And if their answer feels shallow, if it feels disconnected, if it feels like they're hiding behind words, then that's still an answer. Stoicism teaches that understanding others begins with accepting what they reveal without twisting it into what you hope it means. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Accept the truth of what is given." When someone answers this question, listen with that mindset. Hear their truth. Don't decorate it. Don't excuse it. Don't rearrange it. Their answer shows you the road they walk. Now you know whether their road aligns with yours. Think deeply about what you notice in others and yourself. Let this awareness guide your actions and type it below to claim it. I see the truth. Question 2. What do you do when your feelings and your values disagree? A person's mind becomes visible in the way they handle inner conflict. Not the arguments they have with others, those are easy to hide behind, but the arguments they have with themselves. The quiet ones, the ones that pull them in two different directions, what they feel in the moment and what they believe is right. When you ask someone, what do you do when your feelings and your values disagree? You're asking them to show you their moral backbone, their self-control, their emotional maturity, their ability to stay grounded even when their inner world feels chaotic. Most people feel their emotions more loudly than their principles, but Stoicism teaches the opposite. Emotions are visitors, values are home. Epictetus said, "If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish about your devotion to what is right." This question exposes whether a person stands on that kind of integrity or whether they abandon their values the moment feelings become inconvenient. Listen closely to their answer, because this question doesn't reveal surface truths, it reveals the structure of a person's character. Some people will say they follow their feelings. If so, understand this. They will act out of impulses. They will break promises if emotions shift. They will love you passionately one day and distance themselves the next. Not because they are bad people, but because their feelings drive them more than commitment does. Some people will say they suppress their feelings to follow values. This reveals discipline, yes, but you also need to see whether they practice emotional numbness instead of emotional intelligence, because suppression can create quiet storms that grow into bigger problems later. And some people will tell you they pause, they slow down, they breathe. They ask themselves which response honors who they want to be. This type of answer reveals emotional wisdom, a balanced mind, a grounded heart, and a soul that chooses clarity over chaos. A person's answer shows you how they will behave when things get hard, not during the easy moments where everything flows, but during the moment their emotions are screaming one thing and their values whisper another. Think about what this reveals. If someone gets angry, do they react or reflect? If someone feels tempted, do they stay loyal or follow desire? If someone feels insecure, do they choose honesty or manipulation? If someone feels scared, do they retreat or stay steady? These choices shape everything: friendships, relationships, trust, consistency, stability. You deserve to know whether someone chooses the temporary comfort of emotion or the long-term strength of principle. This question also reveals something deeper: how someone treats themselves when they're conflicted. A mind that attacks itself becomes unpredictable. A mind that understands itself becomes trustworthy. Some people will tell you they blame themselves for feeling conflicted. This shows a person who is hard on themselves, someone who may carry guilt even when it isn't needed. Others will tell you they negotiate with themselves, seeking the path that aligns with their values while respecting their emotions. This is the sign of someone who grows instead of breaks. And then there are those who say they don't know, which might mean they've never looked inside long enough to understand themselves. This isn't a red flag on its own, but it tells you how much self-discovery they still have ahead of them. Stoicism teaches that the strongest person is not the one who never feels conflict, but the one who chooses virtue even when conflict is loud. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." This question reveals whether someone lives by that simple but powerful compass. Their answer will show you. Are they driven by emotional weather or by the steady ground of their inner principles? You learn how safe they are, how consistent they can be, how deeply they understand themselves, how they will treat you, not just when things feel good, but when they feel complicated. And if you want to understand someone's mind, you must understand how they navigate their storms. Reflect on your values and the choices you make every day. Commit to your path and share it now in the comments. My values guide me. Question 3. When life hurts you, what do you learn about yourself? This question reaches deeper than pain. It reaches into identity, into who a person believes they are when life stops being gentle. Most people talk about what happened to them, but few can talk about what those moments taught them. When you ask someone, when life hurts you, what do you learn about yourself? You're giving them a mirror most people avoid, a mirror that reveals whether they grow from pain or surrender to it. Pain is not the teacher people think it is. Pain doesn't teach anything by itself. Reflection teaches, honesty teaches, awareness teaches, and some people never pause long enough to learn. This question exposes a person's inner philosophy, how they interpret their struggles, how they frame their failures, how they understand the wounds they carry. Stoics believed pain was not an enemy, it was a messenger. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action." Pain shows us what needs strength, what needs healing, what needs courage, what needs change. But not everyone sees it that way. Some people will say pain taught them not to trust anyone that tells you they carry walls, not wisdom. They may protect you, but they may also push you away. Some will say pain taught them to expect the worst. This shows fear shaping their vision, a worldview built on survival instead of hope. Some will say pain taught them nothing. This reveals emotional avoidance, a mind that shuts down instead of opening. And then there are people who say pain taught them resilience, patience, or clarity. These are the ones who grow. These are the ones who become steady, grounded, emotionally present, not perfect, but aware. This simple question shows you whether someone collapses under life's weight or rises from it with new understanding. It shows whether they see themselves as a victim or as a participant in their own story. A person who learns from pain becomes attentive, reflective. They communicate instead of react. They heal instead of hide. They understand that hurt can shape them without defining them. But a person who refuses to learn from pain becomes unpredictable. Their emotions run without direction. Their reactions become louder than their intentions. Their wounds speak for them, and they don't even realize it. You're not just listening for their answer. You're listening for their worldview, how they see themselves, how they see other people, how they see life when it strips away comfort. Some will speak with heaviness, a sign they still carry pain unprocessed. Some will speak with clarity, a sign they've turned wounds into wisdom. Some will speak with confusion, a sign they've never questioned their patterns. Each response reveals the emotional roadmap that guides their decisions, their relationships, their trust, and their actions. This question also reveals whether someone practices self-examination, a key teaching in Stoicism. Seneca said, "The mind that examines itself is strengthened." A person who reflects becomes emotionally strong. A person who avoids becomes emotionally fragile. And you deserve to know which one stands in front of you. If they learned they shut down when life gets hard, you'll know they need patience. If they learn they become cold, you'll know they protect themselves through distance. If they learn they become angry, you'll know they battle inner storms. If they learned they become wiser, you'll know you're speaking to someone who grows instead of breaks. Understanding their answer doesn't give you control over them. It gives you insight, the kind that protects your heart and guides your choices. because how a person responds to pain is how they respond to love, how they respond to responsibility, how they respond to conflict, how they respond to you. And you deserve to be surrounded by people who face their pain with honesty, not people who let their pain speak for them. This question doesn't just reveal their past, it reveals their trajectory, the direction their life is moving. Are they healing forward or hurting forward? And once you know that, you will understand their mind more clearly than they ever realize. Remember that every challenge shapes your strength. Acknowledge it, embrace it, and declare it in the comments now. I grow stronger. Question 4. What promise do you always keep to yourself? A person's mind becomes clear when you understand the promises they refuse to break, not the promises they make to others. Those are easy to say and easy to abandon. But the quiet promises they make to themselves, the ones they keep when no one is watching, the ones that reveal who they truly are beneath every mask and every moment of performance. When you ask someone, "What promise do you always keep to yourself?" you are asking about the foundation of their character. You are asking what they stand on when life shakes them. You are asking what remains when everything else falls apart. Because a person who keeps no promises to themselves cannot keep promises to you. A person who breaks their own word will break anyone's word. A person who betrays themselves will eventually betray your trust too. Character begins with self-loyalty, and Stoicism teaches that integrity is born from within. Epictetus said, "First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do." That is a promise, a commitment to your own becoming. Some people will answer this question easily, some will struggle, some will avoid it completely, and each response reveals a truth deeper than their words. Listen carefully. Some will say they keep the promise to never give up on themselves. That shows inner resilience, a strong mind built on faith and determination. Some will say they promise to treat people with kindness. This reveals a heart that values compassion even when the world feels heavy. Some will say they promise to never go back to the person they used to be. This shows growth, a desire to rise, a refusal to repeat painful patterns. Some will say they don't make promises to themselves. This reveals a lack of inner structure, a wandering identity, a life without direction, a person living more in reaction than intention. And then there are those who say they break their promises to themselves often. That answer tells you they need healing, not judgment. It shows a mind searching for discipline, a heart that wants better but hasn't yet built the tools to stay consistent. This question digs into the core of someone's self-respect, because to promise yourself something is to believe you are worth keeping that promise for. And some people simply don't feel worthy yet. When someone shares their answer, notice what they talk about. Do they talk about habits? Do they talk about boundaries? Do they talk about values? Do they talk about survival? Do they talk about dreams? Each path reveals a piece of their mindset. If their promise is rooted in pain, they're still healing. If their promise is rooted in fear, they're still protecting themselves. If their promise is rooted in growth, they're rising. If their promise is rooted in purpose, you're speaking to someone with an inner compass. This question also shows you their future, not by predicting it, but by showing you how they walk into it. A person who keeps their inner promises builds discipline. Discipline builds stability. Stability builds trust. Trust builds a life that doesn't collapse under pressure. A person who constantly breaks their promises to themselves lives in emotional debt, behind on their healing, behind on their growth, behind on the relationship they want with themselves. And if they are behind with themselves, they will be behind with you too. But do not judge their answer harshly. This question is not a test. It is a window. It shows whether you are dealing with someone who honors their word or someone who is still learning how to. Stoicism reminds us that the greatest strength is the alignment between what you say and what you do. Marcus Aurelius believed, "A person's worth is measured by the worth of what they pursue, and what someone promises themselves reveals what they pursue in the quiet moments of life." Pay attention. Because when someone tells you what they always keep, they are telling you their identity, their loyalty, their direction, their truth. And when someone tells you they keep nothing, they are telling you they are still searching for themselves. Honor yourself by keeping the promises only you can make. Take a moment to commit to this truth and post it below. I keep my promises. Question 5. What kind of peace are you trying to build? This question reaches the deepest part of someone's mind, not their past, not their pain, not their habits, but their direction, their vision, their inner destination. When you ask someone, what kind of peace are you trying to build? You're asking them to reveal the architecture of their soul, because every person is building a different kind of peace. Some build peace made of silence. Some build peace made of stability. Some build peace made of freedom. Some build peace made of distance. Some build peace made of connection. And some don't know what they're building at all, so they create chaos without meaning to. Peace is not the same for everyone. For one person, peace means letting go of old memories. For another, peace means creating structure in life. For another, peace means finding people who make them feel safe. For another, peace means learning to trust themselves again. This question reveals their heart's blueprint, what they need, what they value, and what they're willing to work toward. Stoicism teaches that true peace does not come from the world. It comes from inner order. Seneca wrote, "No person can have a peaceful life who thinks too much about length rather than depth." Peace is not how long life feels good. Peace is how deeply it feels right. Listen carefully to how someone answers this question. Some people will say they just want quiet. This reveals emotional exhaustion, a person who has been overwhelmed by noise, chaos, or people who demanded too much. Some will say they want stability. This shows someone who longs for consistency, someone who has walked through unpredictable experiences. Some will say they want freedom. This reveals a heart that felt trapped, a mind that wants to stretch without being judged. Some will say they want peace with themselves. This shows someone who carries inner conflict and is trying to heal their relationship with their own reflection. And some will say they don't know. This reveals a mind still searching, a heart that hasn't yet found its direction, a person who needs time, not pressure. Whatever they say, their answer matters, because when you know what kind of peace someone is building, you know whether your presence supports that peace or disturbs it. You know whether your lifestyle aligns with theirs. You know whether you can walk together without stepping on each other's balance. This question also reveals emotional maturity. A person who knows the peace they want has done inner work. They have reflected, processed, evaluated, and chosen a direction for their life. But a person who avoids the question often avoids themselves. Someone who says they want peace through control may struggle with insecurity. Someone who says they want peace through isolation may still be healing from betrayal. Someone who says they want peace through change may be ready for growth. Someone who says they want peace through honesty may have lived too long in silence. Their definition of peace tells you how they will handle relationships, conflict, loyalty, growth, and life. If their peace requires distance, they will pull away often. If their peace requires growth, they will challenge themselves and you. If their peace requires honesty, they will speak openly rather than hide feelings. If their peace requires safety, they will protect their heart carefully. And if their peace requires self-respect, they will not tolerate behaviors that break their inner balance. This question doesn't just reveal their present, it reveals who they want to become. It shows whether they're building their life with intention or drifting through it unconsciously. It shows whether they are creating a future where love can grow, where trust can breathe, where emotional storms can quiet down, where connection can deepen without fear, and peace is the foundation of all of that. Because without peace, a person cannot love clearly, cannot think clearly, cannot live clearly. Stoicism teaches that inner peace is the greatest wealth. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul." When someone tells you what peace they're building, you see whether their soul is seeking refuge or creating it. Their answer will show you whether your presence belongs in their life or whether your paths are meant to diverge. Visualize your inner peace, the calm that protects you from chaos. Claim it openly and type it in the comments now. I build my peace. You now hold 5 questions that can open the human mind without force. 5 questions that reveal truth without pressure. 5 questions that show who a person truly is beneath their practiced answers and polished surface. These questions aren't about judging anyone. They're about understanding them, seeing them, hearing the parts of their story that rarely reach the world, because real connection, real trust, comes from clarity, not confusion. Stoicism teaches that the more we understand others, the less chaos we invite into our own lives. Marcus Aurelius said, "If someone can show me that what I think or do is not right, I will gladly change." This is the heart of wisdom, openness, awareness, and the courage to see truth as it is. When you ask these 5 questions, you learn how someone carries their pain, how they hold their principles, how they honor themselves, how they navigate conflict within their mind, and what kind of peace they're trying to build. You learn their direction, and whether your direction matches theirs. You learn their emotional language, and whether you can speak it. You learn their depth, and whether they can walk with you through yours. Understanding someone's mind is not about control. It's about alignment. It's about knowing who belongs in your story and who belongs only in your lessons. Carry these questions with care. Use them with intention, and let them guide you to people who speak with honesty, love with clarity, and walk with the same steadiness you're trying to build within yourself. Think about the people in your life and the energy you allow around you. Commit to attracting alignment, growth, and truth, and share it below. I attract the right people. And if this message touched your heart, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps this wisdom reach those who need it most. Hey warriors, life doesn't prepare you for its hardest moments. It throws you into the fire and waits to see if you'll burn or become steel. The hardest challenges arrive unannounced. Days when getting out of bed requires more courage than climbing mountains. Nights when silence screams louder than any storm. And somewhere between the breaking and the rebuilding, something profound emerges. The hardest challenges don't destroy. They reveal who we've been waiting to become. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." These words aren't just ancient wisdom. They're a lifeline when drowning in circumstances never asked for. The truth is, Pain has a purpose. Struggle carries meaning. Every tear cried waters seeds nobody knew were planted. Every battle fought in silence creates warriors nobody sees coming. The hardest chapters aren't punishments. They're promotions to a version not yet met. Think about the moments that broke you, really broke you. The loss that felt unbearable. The failure that shattered confidence. The betrayal that rewrote understanding of trust. Those weren't random accidents. They were masterclasses disguised as misery, teaching lessons no classroom could ever offer. Comfort creates complacency. Easy roads build soft people. But hardship? Hardship builds character that can't be shaken, wisdom that can't be taught, and strength that can't be borrowed. When life strips away everything thought to define identity, discovery finally happens of what actually sustains existence. Right now, someone watching this is in the middle of their storm. Questions arise about survival, wondering if pain will ever end, exhausted from being strong because strength itself exhausts. Hear this truth. Survival isn't the only thing happening. Evolution is occurring. Every breath taken in darkness becomes an act of defiance against defeat. The hardest challenge isn't happening to anyone, it's happening for them. It's sculpting, refining, preparing for a future that requires exactly the kind of person this struggle creates. Falling apart? No. Falling together in ways only understood when looking back from higher ground. This isn't about toxic positivity or pretending pain doesn't hurt. This is about recognizing that the hardest moments are also the most transformative. The cocoon feels like a coffin to the caterpillar, but it's actually a birthplace. Struggle isn't an ending, it's a beginning. Today, 7 life lessons emerge from walking through fire. Not theories, not concepts. Real truths earned through real tears. Lessons that change everything about how struggle, strength, and the beautiful mess of being human gets viewed. These aren't the usual lessons heard 1,000 times. These are truths nobody talks about because they're too raw, too real, too uncomfortable. But discomfort is where growth lives. And being here means readiness to grow. If this already hits you, like the video. Drop a quick comment so I know you're here. Share this with someone who needs it, and subscribe to stay part of this growing community. Don't skip, your breakthrough might be in the next line. If this feels true for you today, write it in the comments and claim your growth. I'm becoming stronger every day. Let's begin this journey together. The hardest challenge is about to become the greatest teacher. Number 1. Silence teaches what noise never could. The world celebrates noise. Loud victories get praised. Visible wins attract attention. Success stories come with applause and recognition. But nobody talks about the power hidden in the quietest moments. When life hits hardest, a silence arrives so profound it feels like isolation. Friends stop calling because they don't know what to say. Family offers advice that doesn't fit the pain. Social media shows everyone else winning, while barely surviving feels like the only reality. And in that silence, feeling forgotten becomes overwhelming. But here's the truth. That silence isn't emptiness, it's clarity. Rumi said, "The quieter you become, the more you can hear." When everything strips away, the distractions, the noise, the constant need to perform, real voices finally get heard. Not voices that echo what others expect. Real voices, the ones that know truth. In the darkest seasons, talking about struggle stops. Not from shame, but because words feel inadequate. Sitting with pain instead of running from it becomes necessary. Listening to what pain tries to teach becomes possible. And slowly, in that unbearable silence, parts get discovered that noise had drowned out for years. Silence forces honesty. Lying to oneself becomes impossible when there's nobody around to perform for. Faking strength fails when no audience watches. Facing the self happens, unfiltered, unedited, undeniably real. And that's terrifying. But it's also liberating. The hardest challenge isolates. People who said they'd always be there disappear. Plans made together crumble. Dinners get eaten alone. Tears fall in empty rooms, wondering if anyone would notice if trying just stopped. But in that isolation, something miraculous happens. Meeting the self for the first time. Discovery happens. Strength exists beyond what was thought. Bravery exists beyond what was believed. Resilience exists beyond what anyone credited. The silence that felt like abandonment was actually protection, protecting from voices that would have weakened resolve, opinions that would have clouded judgment, distractions that would have delayed growth. Isolation isn't pleasant. It's brutal, but it's also sacred. In the quiet, intuition gets heard. Purpose reconnects. Memory returns of who existed before the world told who to be. Noise teaches how to fit in. Silence teaches how to stand out. Think about seeds. They grow in darkness, buried in soil, completely alone. Nobody sees the struggle. Nobody witnesses the breaking. But that hidden process creates the breakthrough. Silent seasons aren't punishments, they're plantings. Right now, if silence surrounds you, stop fighting it. Stop trying to fill every quiet moment with distraction. Stop reaching for phones every time loneliness whispers. Sit with it, listen to it, let it teach what years of noise couldn't. Silence shows which relationships were real and which were just comfortable. It reveals which dreams were yours and which got borrowed from others. It strips away every false identity until only authentic self remains. And yes, that's painful. But pain that reveals truth beats comfort that conceals lies. Here's what nobody tells. People who judge others for being quiet during storms have never survived their own. They don't understand that sometimes strength looks like stillness. That courage sometimes means sitting in discomfort instead of running toward distraction. That healing often requires disappearing before truly reappearing. Silence isn't weakness. It's wisdom. It's honoring the process. It's refusing to rush growth that requires time. It's choosing depth over performance, substance over show, transformation over applause. When emergence happens from this silent season, and emergence will happen, speaking changes. Words carry weight because they've been refined in solitude. Presence commands respect because it's rooted in self-knowledge. Peace becomes unshakable because it wasn't built on external validation. The hardest challenge teaches that silence isn't the absence of something, it's the presence of everything that matters. Strength, clarity, truth, becoming. Embrace the quiet. Let it remake. Let it reveal. Let it prepare for the version of life that requires the version this silence creates. Number 2. Pain becomes the map, not the trap. Pain gets misunderstood. Society teaches to avoid it, numb it, hide it behind smiles and fine responses. But pain isn't the enemy. Ignorance of its purpose is. Every ache, every heartbreak, every moment of suffering carries coordinates. Not to where things went wrong, but to where transformation begins. Pain doesn't trap. It maps the journey from who we were to who we're meant to become. Carl Jung once said, "There is no coming to consciousness without pain." This truth hits different when standing in the wreckage of shattered dreams. Consciousness doesn't arrive through comfort. It arrives through the cracks pain creates, letting light into places that stayed dark for too long. The hardest challenges don't just hurt, they illuminate. They show exactly where growth needs to happen, where boundaries should have been set, where self-worth got compromised, where truth got sacrificed for peace. Pain points to these places with brutal precision. Think about physical pain for a moment. Touch a hot stove, and pain screams, move your hand. Twist an ankle, and pain demands, stop walking on it. The body uses pain as a guidance system, protecting from further damage. Emotional pain works the same way. It's not punishment, it's protection disguised as suffering. When betrayal cuts deep, pain maps out where trust was misplaced. When failure crushes spirit, pain maps out where preparation was lacking or direction was wrong. When loss breaks hearts, pain maps out how deeply love lived and how fully life was experienced. Every painful moment is a teacher holding a lesson nobody wanted but everyone needs. The mistake happens in running from pain instead of reading it, numbing it with distractions, drowning it in temporary pleasures, hiding it behind false positivity. But unread pain doesn't disappear. It becomes unresolved trauma. It turns into patterns that repeat, relationships that replay the same dysfunction, choices that lead to the same dead ends. Reading the map means sitting with discomfort long enough to understand its message. What is this pain trying to protect? What pattern is it trying to break? What truth is it forcing into awareness? These questions hurt to answer, but they're the difference between staying stuck and breaking free. Here's the powerful part. Pain that gets understood transforms into wisdom. The person who survives heartbreak learns what real love requires. The person who endures failure learns what true success demands. The person who walks through loss learns what actually matters in life. Pain becomes the curriculum for the next level. Seneca wrote, "Difficulties strengthen the mind, as labor does the body." The gym doesn't apologize for the burn in muscles. That burn signals growth. Life doesn't apologize for emotional burns either. They signal the same thing. Expansion happening, strength building, capacity increasing. Right now, someone watching this carries pain they haven't processed. It sits heavy in the chest. It wakes them at 3 in the morning. It colors every decision with fear. That pain is begging to be heard, not hidden. It's offering directions, not delivering destruction. Stop treating pain like the problem. Pain is the alarm system alerting to the real problem. Ignoring alarms doesn't make fires go away. It makes them spread. Acknowledging pain, understanding its source, and taking action based on its guidance. That's how fires get extinguished and phoenixes rise from ashes. The hardest challenge brings the most intense pain because it's correcting the most significant misalignment. Something in life was off course, maybe for months, maybe for years. Pain arrived to redirect, to realign, to rebuild on a foundation that can actually hold the weight of destiny. This doesn't mean pain feels good. It doesn't mean suffering should be celebrated. It means pain deserves respect as a messenger, not rejection as an enemy. Warriors don't fear their wounds. They read them, learn from them, and use that knowledge to fight smarter next time. The map pain provides leads out of the trap. It shows which relationships to release, which dreams to revise, which versions of self to outgrow, which truths to finally embrace. Following this map requires courage because the path goes through more discomfort before reaching relief. But staying in the trap because the exit looks hard, that's choosing slow death over difficult rebirth. Pain asks one question: are you ready to evolve? Every tear answers yes. Every sleepless night answers yes. Every moment of pushing through when quitting seemed easier answers yes. The challenge isn't surviving pain, it's surrendering to its teachings. When the lesson gets learned, the pain loses its power. Not because circumstances change, but because understanding changes. The map gets read, the trap gets escaped, the transformation gets completed. Number 3, falling apart is actually falling into place. Everything falls apart before it falls into place. This truth sounds like a cliché until standing in the rubble of a life that once made sense. The job that defined identity, gone. The relationship that promised forever, shattered. The plan that seemed foolproof, demolished. And in that moment of total collapse, panic screams that everything is ending. But something else is happening. Everything is beginning. Nature understands this perfectly. Trees shed leaves to survive winter. Snakes shed skin to grow larger. Caterpillars dissolve completely inside the cocoon. Their bodies literally turn to liquid before reforming as butterflies. Destruction isn't the opposite of creation. It's the prerequisite. Heraclitus said, "The only constant in life is change." But change doesn't arrive gently. It doesn't knock politely and wait for permission. Change demolishes what no longer serves to make room for what does. And from the outside, from the inside, from every angle, it looks like failure. Here's what gets missed. The falling apart is the falling into place. The relationship that ended. It was blocking the person meant to arrive. The job that was lost. It was delaying the calling waiting to be answered. The plan that failed. It was protecting from a future that would have felt like a prison. But seeing this requires perspective that only comes later. In the moment of collapse, all that's visible is loss. All that's felt is grief. All that's known is that nothing will ever be the same. And that last part, that's the truth worth holding on to. Nothing will be the same because same wasn't working. The hardest challenge breaks open life like a geode. From the outside, it's just a rock getting smashed. Violent, destructive, senseless. But inside are crystals that could never be seen, never be valued, never be appreciated without the breaking. The breaking reveals the treasure. Think about buildings that get condemned. They don't get demolished because someone's bored. They get demolished because the foundation is flawed, the structure is unsafe, the design can't support what needs to be built next. Life does the same thing. When the foundation of identity, relationships, or purpose is flawed, life condemns it. Not to punish, to protect. Not to end things, to rebuild better. Right now, someone watching this is in mid-collapse. The pieces are still falling. The dust hasn't settled. The pain is so fresh it feels permanent. And the hardest part? Not knowing what comes next. The old life is gone, but the new life hasn't arrived yet. That in-between space, that's where faith gets forged. Viktor Frankl survived concentration camps and wrote, "When we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves." The falling apart isn't just about external circumstances crumbling. It's about internal structures transforming. Old beliefs about worth, about capability, about deserving, those beliefs fall apart too. And good. They were lies anyway. The person emerging from collapse isn't the same person who entered it. Can't be. The heat was too intense. The pressure was too great. Coal doesn't go through that and stay coal. It becomes diamond. Transformation isn't optional when everything falls apart. It's inevitable. But here's the part that requires trust. Falling into place doesn't look neat. It doesn't look organized. It doesn't look like those before and after photos that make transformation seem linear. It looks messy. It looks chaotic. It looks like maybe nothing is working and everything is getting worse before better arrives. Seeds don't bloom immediately. They fall into dark soil. They break open underground. They struggle through dirt before reaching sunlight. But that struggle isn't random. It's directional. It's falling into place even when it feels like falling apart. The hardest challenge dismantles the life that was built on shaky ground. People-pleasing, fear-based decisions, borrowed dreams, conditional self-worth. And yes, losing those things feels like losing everything. But they weren't supporting authentic existence. They were preventing it. What's falling apart right now? Let it. Stop trying to hold together what needs to break. Stop trying to save what needs to end. Stop trying to fix what needs to fail. The universe isn't clumsy. It's not dropping important pieces by accident. It's clearing space on purpose. Falling into place requires falling apart first. The mess is the method. The chaos is the cleanse. The breakdown is the breakthrough disguised in work clothes. Trust the process even when the process looks like disaster. When everything settles, and it will settle, the view will be clear. The pieces that mattered stayed. The pieces that didn't serve left. And the space created? That's where miracles move in. That's where purpose plants roots. That's where the life that was always meant to be lived finally begins. Number 4, strength isn't loud, it's lasting. Strength gets confused with spectacle. Society celebrates the loud declarations, the dramatic comebacks, the viral moments of triumph. But real strength doesn't announce itself. It doesn't perform. It doesn't need witnesses to validate its existence. Real strength is the single mother working 2 jobs and still showing up to her kids' school play with a smile. It's the person battling depression who gets out of bed when staying under covers feels safer. It's the quiet decision to try again after failing publicly. Strength isn't the roar. It's the breath taken before the roar and the silence held after. Lao Tzu wrote, "The strong man is the one who is able to intercept at will the communication between the senses and the mind. True power lives in restraint, not reaction, in endurance, not explosion, in the capacity to keep moving forward when every cell screams to quit." The hardest challenges don't build the strength that flexes in mirrors. They build the strength that carries grief without crumbling, the strength that forgives without forgetting the lesson, the strength that loves again after betrayal taught caution. This strength doesn't look impressive from the outside. It looks ordinary, but it's extraordinary. Think about oceans versus storms. Storms rage loud, destroy dramatically, and demand attention, but they pass quickly. Oceans move with quiet power. They shape coastlines over centuries. They hold depths that storms never reach. They remain when the noise fades. That's the strength the hardest challenges create. Ocean strength, not storm strength. People watching from the sidelines don't see this strength. They see someone who's too quiet now, someone who's changed, someone who doesn't engage in the drama anymore, doesn't explain themselves constantly, doesn't seek approval like before, and they mistake that for weakness. But it's the opposite. Choosing peace over proving a point takes strength. Walking away from arguments that don't serve growth takes strength. Setting boundaries with people who don't respect them takes strength. Staying committed to healing when the world demands immediate productivity takes strength. None of this is loud. All of it is powerful. The mistake happens in measuring strength by visibility, assuming if nobody sees the struggle, it isn't happening. Assuming if there's no social media post about overcoming, nothing got overcome. Assuming if tears fall in private, they don't count. But the strongest battles are fought in silence, in solitude, in the sacred space between who we were and who we're becoming. Here's what the hardest challenge teaches. Strength isn't about never breaking. It's about breaking and still choosing to continue. It's about shattering into 1,000 pieces and having the patience to gather each one, examine it, and decide which pieces to keep and which to leave behind. Muhammad Ali said, "I hated every minute of training, but I said, don't quit. Suffer now and live the rest of your life as a champion." The training nobody sees creates the victory everybody celebrates. The daily choice to keep going when motivation dies, when inspiration fades, when hope feels foolish, that's where champions are made. Right now, someone watching this is being strong in ways nobody acknowledges. Paying bills while processing trauma, showing up to work while a heart breaks in slow motion, holding space for others while falling apart inside. That strength deserves recognition, even if it never receives it. Especially if it never receives it. Loud strength burns fast. Lasting strength burns slow. One impresses crowds. The other builds legacies. One gets likes. The other gets results. One performs for validation. The other perseveres through validation's absence. The hardest challenge strips away the performance of strength and reveals its essence. No more pretending everything's fine when it's not. No more forcing smiles for comfort of others. No more making pain smaller so people feel less uncomfortable. Just raw, honest, quiet strength that says, "This is hard, and I'm doing it anyway." This strength doesn't need cheerleaders, though support helps. It doesn't need recognition, though acknowledgement matters. It doesn't need proof, though progress is real. This strength needs only one thing: the decision to keep breathing, keep believing, keep becoming, even when every reason to quit lines up and makes sense. Trees don't grow loud, mountains don't rise with fanfare, rivers don't carve canyons by announcing their power. Nature's strongest forces work in persistent silence, reshaping the world without seeking credit. That's the model, that's the method, that's the strength the hardest challenges forge. When this chapter ends, and it will end, the strength built here will remain, not as a trophy to display, but as a foundation to stand on, not as a story to tell, but as a knowing that lives in bones, the knowing that says, "I survived what should have destroyed me. I'm still here. I'm still standing. I'm still strong." Number 5. The person you're becoming is worth the pain you're enduring. Every struggle serves a sculptor. Every hardship holds a chisel. Every painful moment chips away at the excess, revealing the masterpiece hidden beneath the marble. Right now, in the middle of the hardest challenge, it doesn't feel like becoming. It feels like breaking. It feels like losing. It feels like everything valuable is being stripped away, leaving nothing but emptiness and exhaustion. But that's not what's happening. What's happening is excavation, digging through layers of conditioning, false beliefs, and borrowed identities to unearth the truth of who was always meant to emerge. Michelangelo said, "I saw the angel in the marble and carved until I set him free." Life is doing the same thing. The angel was always there. The masterpiece was always possible. But the excess had to go. The parts that didn't fit the design had to fall away. And that process is agony. The hardest challenges don't destroy potential. They expose it. They force confrontation with capacity that comfort would never reveal. They demand growth that easy seasons would never require. They create the person who can handle the life waiting on the other side of this pain. Think about what this struggle is requiring. Courage that didn't exist before. Resilience that wasn't needed until now. Wisdom that only comes through walking through fire. Compassion that only develops after knowing deep suffering. Boundaries that form only after being violated. Self-worth that solidifies only after being tested. Every quality needed for the next level is being forged in this current hell. The person being shaped right now isn't just stronger, they're different. They see through manipulation faster. They recognize genuine connection deeper. They value their peace fiercer. They protect their energy wiser. They love themselves truer. This version doesn't exist yet, but it's coming, and every painful day is bringing it closer. James Baldwin wrote, "Not everything that is faced can be changed, but nothing can be changed until it is faced." The hardest challenge forces facing what was avoided for years. Facing the truth about relationships that were toxic but comfortable. Facing the reality of dreams that belonged to someone else. Facing the pattern of self-betrayal disguised as selflessness. facing the fear that controlled every decision. This facing hurts, but it heals. Here's the part that makes the pain worth it. The person emerging from this won't settle for less ever again, won't dim their light for insecure people, won't sacrifice their truth for temporary peace, won't accept crumbs when they deserve the whole feast. The threshold for what's acceptable changes completely, and that change, that's priceless. Right now, someone watching this doubts if they can keep going. The finish line isn't visible, the relief isn't arriving. The breakthrough feels like a myth sold by motivational speakers who never lived this particular nightmare. But here's the truth: those doubts don't want acknowledged. Giving up now means staying who you currently are. Pushing through means becoming who you're meant to be. One choice keeps the ceiling low, the other one shatters it completely. Every master was once a disaster. Every expert was once a beginner. Every phoenix was once ashes. The transition from one state to the next isn't pretty. It's not Instagram-worthy. It's messy, ugly, painful, and lonely. But it's necessary. Caterpillars don't become butterflies by staying comfortable. They dissolve completely. Total liquefaction. And then they restructure into something that can fly. The pain being endured right now is the dissolving. The confusion is the restructuring. The exhaustion is the energy being redirected toward transformation instead of maintenance. This isn't happening to you, it's happening for you. Not in some toxic positivity way that dismisses real suffering. In the truest sense, this is preparing you for a version of life that requires this version of you. Think about athletes training for championships. The pain in muscles isn't punishment, it's preparation. The exhaustion isn't failure, it's conditioning. The pushing past limits isn't cruelty, it's capacity building. Life is training you right now. For what? For everything you ever asked for but weren't ready to receive. For opportunities that would have crushed the old version. For relationships that require the healed version. For purpose that demands the refined version. The person you're becoming knows their worth without external validation. They set boundaries without guilt. They choose peace over chaos. They recognize their power without arrogance. They love deeply without losing themselves. They trust their intuition without second-guessing. They walk away from what doesn't serve without explanation. They show up fully without performing. They heal publicly without shame. They win quietly without needing applause. That person is worth every tear cried in darkness, worth every night spent questioning everything, worth every moment of doubt and despair, worth the isolation, the judgment, the misunderstanding, worth all of it. The hardest challenge is the bridge between who you were and who you're becoming. Cross it. Don't turn back. The destination is worth the journey. Number 6. The bottom teaches what the top never could. Rock bottom gets a bad reputation. It's treated like failure's final destination, the place where hope goes to die, the end of everything worth living for. But rock bottom isn't the end, it's the foundation. And foundations are where everything solid gets built. The view from the top is beautiful but deceiving. Success at the peak creates illusions, that control exists, that invincibility is real, that the climb will never reverse. The top whispers lies about permanence while standing on ground that can crumble any moment. But the bottom tells only truth. Epictetus taught, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. The bottom strips away every false reaction, every performed response, every conditioned behavior. When there's nothing left to lose, there's nothing left to fake. The mask falls because there's no audience left to perform for. And in that brutal honesty, clarity arrives. Rock bottom reveals who actually stays when the spotlight dims. It shows which relationships were built on status versus substance, which friends loved the position versus the person. Which connections were transactional versus transformational? The bottom is a filter that only truth passes through. Here's what the top never teaches: sufficiency. At the top, there's always more to achieve, more to acquire, more to prove. The top breeds hunger that can never be satisfied, because satisfaction isn't the goal, superiority is. But the bottom teaches that breath is enough, that sunrise still happens without achievement, that worth exists without validation, that life continues even when everything that defined life is gone. Think about soil. The richest soil sits at the lowest points. Water flows down, nutrients settle down, growth happens down. Gardens don't flourish on mountaintops, they thrive in valleys. The bottom isn't barren, it's where seeds actually take root because the ground is finally solid enough to support real growth. Right now, someone watching this is at their bottom. Bank account empty, relationship ended, health failing, reputation destroyed, dreams dead, and society says this is the worst place to be. But what if it's actually the best? What if this is where real life begins because fake life finally ended? The bottom forces questions the top never allowed time for. What actually matters? Who am I without the titles, the achievements, the applause? What brings genuine fulfillment versus temporary satisfaction? What deserves my energy versus what drains it? These questions get ignored at the top because distraction is endless up there. But the bottom demands answers because survival depends on them. Hitting rock bottom isn't falling from grace, it's falling into truth. The grace was the illusion. The truth is the solid ground that doesn't shift with circumstances, doesn't change with opinions, doesn't disappear when fortune reverses. This ground holds weight that the shaky platforms at the top never could. There's a reason buildings dig deep before rising high. The deeper the foundation, the taller the structure can reach. Skyscrapers don't sit on surface-level ground. They anchor into bedrock far below. The bottom isn't punishment for the climb, it's preparation for the real ascent. What the bottom teaches: resilience that doesn't need comfort, faith that doesn't need proof, strength that doesn't need witnesses, peace that doesn't need perfect circumstances, joy that doesn't need ideal conditions, love that doesn't need reciprocation, worth that doesn't need validation. These lessons are unavailable at the top where everything is provided. They only get learned where nothing is guaranteed. Right now, the bottom feels like failure, like everything was built just to crumble, like effort was wasted and time was lost. But the bottom is showing what the top hid. That structure was built on sand, that success was built on lies, that the whole thing needed to fall so something real could finally be built. The Japanese art of kintsugi repairs broken pottery with gold, making the cracks more valuable than the original piece. The bottom breaks the pottery. But what gets built from the bottom uses those breaks as the most beautiful, most valuable parts of the new creation. The crack isn't the flaw, it's the feature that makes the piece priceless. When the climb begins again, and it will begin again, it won't be the same climb. It'll be intentional, not compulsive. Purpose-driven, not ego-driven. Sustainable, not performative. Because the bottom taught what the top never could. That real success isn't measured by height reached, but by depth of foundation. And that foundation, it's being laid right now, at the bottom, where everything solid begins. Number 7. Yesterday's version couldn't handle today's blessings. There's a reason certain doors stayed closed, a reason specific prayers went unanswered, a reason particular dreams never materialized despite desperate pleas and relentless effort. The timing wasn't wrong, the readiness was. Yesterday's version wasn't equipped for today's opportunities. The person who existed before this hardship lacked the capacity, the wisdom, the maturity, the boundaries, the self-awareness required to steward what's coming, and life, in its infinite intelligence, protected what was desired by withholding it until preparation was complete. Rumi said, "What you seek is seeking you." But here's the part that gets missed. What seeks you also waits for you. It waits for the version that can receive it without destroying it, the version that can maintain it without losing it, the version that can appreciate it without taking it for granted. Think about lottery winners who go bankrupt within years. They received the money before receiving the money management skills. The blessing arrived before the capacity to handle it developed. And the result? The blessing became a curse. Not because the blessing was bad, but because the recipient wasn't ready. The hardest challenge is the preparation period. It's life saying, "You asked for this, and I'm giving it to you. But first you need to become someone who can actually hold it." And that becoming process, it looks nothing like the blessing being prepared for. It looks like loss when abundance is being prepared. It looks like loneliness when partnership is being prepared. It looks like chaos when peace is being prepared. Right now, the challenge being faced is building capacity, emotional capacity to handle success without losing humility, mental capacity to manage complexity without losing clarity, spiritual capacity to receive abundance without losing gratitude, relational capacity to experience love without losing identity. Every painful lesson is an expansion, stretching the container so it can hold more. Yesterday's version would have ruined what's coming, would have chosen the wrong person because desperation clouded judgment, would have mismanaged the opportunity because impatience rushed decisions, would have sabotaged the blessing because unworthiness whispered lies, would have lost the gift because the hands weren't strong enough to hold it yet. Steve Jobs once said, "You can't connect the dots looking forward, you can only connect them looking backwards." Right now, the dots look disconnected. The struggle seems unrelated to the dreams, the pain appears pointless to the goals, but backward from the future, every dot will connect perfectly. Every hardship will make sense as preparation. Every loss will reveal itself as protection. The relationship that ended, it cleared space for the one that's actually aligned with purpose. The job that was lost, it freed time for the calling that brings fulfillment. The plan that failed, it redirected toward the path that actually leads somewhere meaningful. Yesterday's version cried over these as losses. Today's version recognizes them as course corrections. Here's what the hardest challenge is really doing. It's killing who you were so who you're becoming can live. It's dismantling the mindset that would have wasted the opportunity. It's destroying the patterns that would have repeated the cycles. It's removing the people who would have hindered the growth. It's clearing the path for what couldn't coexist with the old life. Right now, someone watching this is frustrated with timing. Why not now? Why not yet? Why do I have to wait when I've wanted this for so long? Because now isn't time yet. Yet means more preparation needed. Wait means more capacity being built. The delay isn't denial, it's development. Think about fruit trees. Plant a seed and demand fruit immediately. Nothing happens. The tree needs seasons of growth before it can bear anything. Trying to force fruit before the tree matures damages the tree and prevents future harvests. Patience isn't punishment, it's protection of what's coming. The version being forged through current fire will receive what the previous version only dreamed about. Better relationships because boundaries now exist. Better opportunities because discernment now operates. Better peace because inner work now guides. Better success because character now supports. Better everything because capacity now matches calling. Yesterday's version couldn't handle today's blessings, but today's version is being equipped for tomorrow's abundance. The waiting isn't wasted time, it's invested time. The struggle isn't random suffering, It's intentional strengthening. The challenge isn't cruel punishment. It's careful preparation. When the blessing arrives, and it will arrive, it'll make perfect sense why it didn't come sooner. The gratitude will be deeper because the wait was longer. The appreciation will be stronger because the journey was harder. The stewardship will be wiser because the lessons were thorough. And most importantly, the ability to maintain it will be solid because the foundation was built properly. The hardest challenge isn't delaying the dream, it's developing the dreamer. And that development, that's the real blessing disguised as burden. The hardest challenge of life doesn't come with a manual. It doesn't arrive with warnings or preparation time. It just shows up, uninvited and unannounced, and demands everything. But here's what it gives back. Everything that truly matters. It gives clarity when confusion ruled. It gives strength when weakness dominated. It gives wisdom when ignorance guided. It gives authenticity when pretending exhausted. It gives purpose when drifting felt normal. The hardest challenge takes what doesn't serve and returns what does. The exchange is brutal, but it's fair. These 7 lessons, silence as teacher, pain as map, falling apart as falling into place, quiet, lasting strength, becoming worth the enduring, the bottom as foundation, and yesterday's unreadiness protecting tomorrow's blessings. They're not just concepts, they're survival tools. They're the difference between staying buried under rubble and rising from it transformed. Right now, wherever you are in your challenge, know this: you're not alone in the darkness. Millions are walking similar paths, fighting similar battles, questioning similar worth, and millions have walked through and emerged whole, healed, and victorious. You will too. The struggle is temporary, the strength is permanent, the pain is seasonal, the growth is eternal. Keep going, keep breathing, keep believing. The hardest chapter makes the best comeback story. Before you go, if this message moved something inside you, hit that like button. Drop a comment below. Share your truth, your struggle, your strength. Share this video with someone who needs these words today. Subscribe to this channel because this community stands together, grows together, and wins together. Your support means everything. The person you're becoming is already proud of you for not quitting. Honor that version by finishing what you started. If you're choosing hope over fear, drop this final affirmation in the comments. My story isn't over yet. Thank you for being here. Thank you for choosing growth over comfort. Thank you for your courage. This is your time. This is your transformation. This is your triumph waiting to happen. Keep going. The best is still coming.